Morjana, it's such a pleasure to have you here with us this evening on the last the last night of the film festival.
I'm very happy to be here. I'd like to thank Safar again, and thank you guys for staying and coming in the first place.
So I guess the first thing that we'll talk about is the production itself, Rock The Casbah. I mean, I just learned, talking to Morjana, that it took only 30 days to shoot, so that's quite quick, it seems.
Yeah, it was a quick shoot. The production overall was a bit hectic in the sense that we're a lot of actors, a lot of Arab actors, so it's a lot of personalities and to handle. However, overall, it was a very rich experience working with all these actors.
Well, I guess we really want to know what it was like working on the same set as Omar Sharif.
He's a very humble man, very discreet, and every time he says something, he's always right at the end of the day.
Oh, you mean so he would offer tips on the filming or the production or the acting?
Well, only when it concerned him. He would say if we take him up to shoot some scenes that were never going to be edited, he would say, "This is never going to be edited. Let me stay at the hotel."
So also the film has these amazing women Arab actresses. So I'm kind of curious, everybody together. I mean, if you put English or American actresses like that, there would be sparks would be flying in competition. How was it?
Yeah, it was very passionate. You know that Nadim Nabaki and Hiam Abbas are also directors. They would listen a lot to Layla, and it functioned really well. But everybody had a lot of personality, which was great for the film because each character took substance, which it didn't particularly have as much as when the script was written.
Oh, so they really brought a lot.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. We didn't have a lot of preparation time, so it was a lot of improvisation during the short preparation time. So everybody would add what they felt their character needed, and it was very helpful for me, for example, to work with.
So, given that's the case, I'm very curious about the, we see Sophia's, career kind of in the film. And here you are, you're an Arab, a Moroccan American actress, and I'm sort of curious if there are parallels between her career and your career.
Well, totally. First of all, I also like not only the career, but the life. I left Morocco when I was 18 to be able to live my dream of becoming an actress. I also decided to leave, just like Sophia, to live as an individual and not as a group, and have my own decisions and make my own decisions. And career-wise, no, I've not played the terrorist yet. But I mean, I wouldn't mind playing cross Jack Bauer.
Well, I'm very curious about, and when you went home as an actress, here you've been acting abroad, acting in films, and then you go home to Morocco. What is the reaction there? I mean, are we seeing some of that on the screen in terms of how to, not so much about your own family reacts, but the people there in terms of being an actress?
Well, they're mostly very supportive and proud. And it's a big deal. It's not nothing. They're very happy, and they'll ask a lot of questions, and sometimes they would get like in the film, and they would make jokes, and I'd get very sensitive about them.
But also you come from a very interesting family, because this was something that we were also just talking about, was that the director of the film is your cousin.
Exactly.
Also you're kissing, Sean Gillette in the film, and he the director of Traitors, who's also the husband of your cousin. So, I mean, wow, what kind of family? I'm very curious about the family culture. Amazing women.
Yeah. No, it's funny about the Sean situation, because Ito is such a personality, and I'm kissing her husband on screen, so I'm very afraid to of her right now. But yeah, we got plenty of artists in our family, which is quite good because we support each other and we inspire each other somehow.
But not only that you have a lot of artists, but you have a lot of women artists. So
Yeah.
it's quite interesting. I mean, that's something that, I mean, I was just thinking that one of the first films that I saw from North Africa was Silences of a Palace. And that was that was like in 1994. I can remember that Rosisa brought it to London, a curator brought it to London. And, you know, then you'd read about how the actresses at home were, you know, being an actress was controversial. So it really made me think of your family culture. That was something that must have really supported the arts or thought that creativity was an important direction for everyone to go into.
Yeah, as we were talking earlier, it seems like in a country like Morocco, where there's a very big tradition and religious background, and which is more focused on the woman than on the men. It seems that the women have this need to go towards creativity in order to fulfill their desires and feel a bit alive.
Yeah, because we were also kind of talking about, the people have been talking to me about this idea that, you know, the Middle East, North Africa, they're really seen as patriarchal cultures. And so now we're seeing the rise of these films that are women-led, but they're also quite funny, hilarious films. Like the women really kind of show their spirit. And it seemed, we were sort of wondering, like, is that something that, you know, Morocco, the Middle East, that people are looking for now? They're kind of tired of the old stories about men.
And about victim women all the time. Now the women are strong, they're funny, they have personalities, they let go. So yeah, there's a real, and yeah, even in the film you see Nadine's the director, Yam's the director. This is a woman's film, made by women, produced by women. There's a lot of that going on.
Well, it also seemed in the film that the men were definitely sidelined. I mean, like, you know, the patriarch is a ghost from the very beginning, kind of. Yeah, so it's quite interesting in that respect. I'm also sort of curious about you as an actress, as an Arab actress working in the West. What kind of roles really can you expect? Was this role but this is the second film that you've done with your cousin. So I'm sort of curious. Like these are big roles in Leila Marchi's films. But what sort of roles are you doing in the West?
So her films are basically the only Moroccan films I've done. I've been able to do a couple French films, a German film, Italian films. I used to live in Paris. Mm-hmm. Paris is a bit more cliche. I can only play most of the time stereotypical roles of Arabs. I'm not saying all of France is doing that. It's just for me because I'm not known enough. Mm-hmm. I would only get stereotyped roles. Here in London, it's much, much more open. I go for everything on auditions.
But you were also in a French film called Martyrs.
Yeah.
A film that the people who've been doing Safar and myself are doing a copy of, and we're all too scared to watch it. It's an extreme French horror film. So could you talk about the experience of that?
Well, it's a great film.
Okay, we have to watch it.
And you have to watch it till the end.
Watch it to the end, okay.
Yeah, it's a very shocking horror film, but it's not a slasher.
Right, okay.
It's not just blood for blood. And the director would describe it as a reflection of the violence of the society today in which we live in.
And how did you find, did you like acting?
Yeah, it was great. I had to lose 10 kilos for the role. It was very physical. There's a lot of stunts. I had to test my acting skills, learn a lot.
So you're here in London and you're doing auditions now.
Yeah.
And and you prefer to work in London or America as opposed to France?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, because as I was saying earlier, here, sometimes with my agent, I go for auditions where it's written clearly blonde girl. And I call him and I'm like, we're wasting everybody's time. Why am I going to go for that audition? And he says, if they want to see you, there's a chance they can change it, they can cast you for something else. So it's really, really open for anybody.
Oh, that's good news, because we always think that Arab actresses are you know, starring in the terrorist films. So yeah, it seems like, no, it's changing. That's good news for all of us. I'd like to open up the, open up the discussion for questions from the audience. Okay. Yes, sir.
Can you talk about what the reaction to the film has been in Morocco? Oh. Can you talk about what the reaction to the film has been in Morocco?
So there was nothing controversial, or nobody was shocked by the film. Nobody was. There was just beers that posed a little bit of a problem from time to time. But apart from that, everybody took it as a film, a drama about family, about truth, honesty, and so there wasn't. It was well taken.
Can you tell us what you're working on now? Are you just going for auditions, or?
Yeah, I'm just going for auditions, waiting for a couple projects.
Would you like to act more in Moroccan films or Arab films?
Yes, of course, yeah.
And do you feel there's a different kind of, approach, especially in Morocco, because it's becoming well known now as a place where Hollywood studios go and film. So there seems to be a difference. We're seeing a difference in the films that are coming out of Morocco as opposed to the Egyptian, the traditional Egyptian cinema that we've been seeing.
Most of the biggest Hollywood productions are shot in Morocco. It stopped for a while, but now it's back on. So all the Moroccans, the locals working on the sets are technically very, very, very good, because they've learned from the best.
Yeah.
So there's a big Moroccan film scene today.
That's why I was wondering if, like, the shortness of the production, 30 days, it meant really fast. So I thought, well, they must have picked that up from, working on these big Hollywood blockbusters.
Yeah, and you see here we just have 1 or 2 locations, and those other films have a million.
This intimate family story. Any other questions? Yes. Oh, can you bring the mic here? Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, congratulations on the film. I thought it was beautiful, beautifully shot, beautifully acted, and I was surprised how moved I was by the end. It was quite emotional. I thought the aspect of your character, Sophia, coming home from the US was very interesting. Can you talk a bit about what she learned about herself from coming home, from living in the US and having a child in the US, and then coming home to see her family and being thrown back into that environment? I think myself and a lot of people can relate to that feeling of being torn between 2 different sets of values, and having these Western ideals, but then being part of this family, which they talked a lot in the film about how women should do this and women can't do that. So can you talk a little bit about what she learned and what she took from coming home?
Yeah, I totally identify with that as well. So she left. Her marriage is not where she wants it to be. Her career is not where she wants it to be. So she's not happy there. She has no friends. She's not happy in Morocco. But before she came home, back home to Morocco, she had very stubborn ideas, and she was a bit judgmental about her family and truth in Morocco. Coming back and living these 3 days, I think helped her go back more constructed as an adult. You know what I mean? Like she needed that trip back in order to leave and be happy. She needed that peace with her family.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I've got one. Yes.
Sorry. How do you think the movie will be received in the rest of the Middle East? So say, for example, Morocco is kind of like on the edge of the Middle East. And what do you think about the other side? So if that film was to air somewhere in, say, Dubai or say Oman or Qatar, like would they have a similar reaction to how it was received in Morocco? Would it be a bit more controversial, do you think? Or?
Well, it went out in Dubai and I think Abu Dhabi, I'm not sure. And it had a good reaction, not controversial. I think that these days the Arab films that we see are 10 times more not provocative in the bad way, but I think this is more of a cute film compared to the other films that we get to see these days.
But do you think like the women in the Middle East, on that side of the Middle East, for example, do you feel like they watch that and see that their characters are being represented, or do they kind of separate that and say this is just a story? Or
I think they think they're represented.
Yeah.
I think what's good with this film and is that anybody from anywhere, being a woman and even being a man, can identify.
Mm-hmm. Sounds really good.
I'm sort of curious about the other film, Morocco, that Leila Marchi had also made, that you starred in. And it was a love story between a Muslim girl and a Jewish Moroccan boy. And I was very interested that it does seem like she really uses music in a very interesting way in her films, and that I was wondering if her films were also sort of addressing some of the issues, not just, definitely Rock The Casbah is a woman's film, but I also got the feeling that reading about Morocco that it was a film that was sort of slanted towards the young, to the younger generation, and that perhaps your cousin was trying to draw out the stories, that more modern stories that speak to contemporary society now.
Yeah, no, that one was controversial. Like, really. It was crazy in Morocco. We had the minister making statements on TV. It was ridiculous.
And yet it was a very popular film.
It was very popular,
Very popular.
but the people were very shocked. And it was 10, 15, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Things have changed, and other films were done. But before, in Morocco, we'd never seen a film about young Arab girls smoking and drinking and wearing mini skirts and dating Jews. So yeah, that was.
Were you, as the lead actress, were you caught up in that? Were they questioned? Were people?
Yeah. It was a big thing. We were invited in a festival in Tangier. And the people from the invited, other artists, there were artists, were really, really not happy with the film. It was a big polemique. How do you say polemique in English?
Yeah,
Controversy.
Controversy.
Okay, but they obviously the establishment forgave Leila Marchi and you.
Yeah.
Eventually, yeah. Any other questions?
Hello, welcome to London.
Thank you.
Big fan of yours.
Thank you very much.
This film, it was really well done. Went through all the emotions. My wife was crying, laughed. I did a little tear as well. I related to loads of scenes. It was really well done. Morocco is a film I'll never forget. Hello. So it blew me away, especially my family are from a little village, Khnifra, in Morocco. So that film, I'll never forget it. But yeah, I just want to say well done, acting is amazing, and yeah, welcome to London.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for the support.
One more question, please. If I was a director and I was to write you a script, what What kind of character would you love to play?
Terrorist.
You know, no terrorist, so you don't have to play terrorist. Anything else?
I'm a fan of these family dramas where you get to be really intimate with people's truth. I feel when I go watch a film like that, I don't know if any of you have watched Osage County, what is it called? Yeah. What is it called?
August.
Orange Osage County?
August.
August County. It really shows these moments of intimacy, and it feels like you go there, it's like it's like a therapy. You come back out happy, so something like that.
Really good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, well, we'd like to thank you so much for joining us at the last minute.